Hi, Madras Elementary. I'm Mrs. Lawson, and I'm a kindergarten teacher in room 19. I have another little jingle for you guys today. And this is an activity that I do in my classroom when we are lining up to go to music or lining up to come back from PE. It's a quick little rhyming activity that we do. And you gotta get a beat, and it goes like this. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like cake, but starts with make. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like make, but starts with bake. Let's try something different. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like, but starts with Mike. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like Mike, but starts with bike. Switching it up. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like cat, but starts with bat. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like bat, but starts with hat. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like hat, but starts with chat. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like seed, but starts with bead. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like bead, but starts with read. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like flag, but starts with rag. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like rag, but starts with tag. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like shack, but starts with rack. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like rack, but starts with crack. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like crack, but starts with tack. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like well, but starts with bell. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like bell, but starts with sell. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like sell, but starts with fell. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like fell, but starts with tell. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like hay, but starts with bay. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like bay, but starts with ray. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like crab, but starts with dab. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like dab, but starts with drab. Last round. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like mop, but starts with bop. I'm thinking of a word that sounds like bop, but starts with cop. And that's the fun game. This is a game you could do at home. Rhyming is so important for early learning and when students are preparing to learn and getting ready to learn and read. It's so important for kindergarten, first, second, and as they transition into learning how to read and then reading to learn. So practice your rhymes with this fun game or by picking out reading books that have a lot of rhyming. Rhyming is fun. Hope everyone is doing well.